Don't you think it's strange that in every generation there are men who run from love? Well, if you look at it closely, you'll realize it's not a generation thing, it's a universal thing. From ancient times until now, there have been men who avoid love. This is what Kierkegaard says. What's the secret they keep? Why do they run from love? And why should you care about these men? What can they teach you about love? That's what we're going to explore today. So stick around. Søren Kierkegaard was born in 1813 in Copenhagen, Denmark. He was a philosopher, theologian, poet, social critic, and one of the earliest existentialist thinkers. His work influenced many others after him, like Jean-Paul Sartre, Albert Camus, and Gabriel Marcel. But he also influenced fields like psychology and psychotherapy. Many of his ideas are still relevant today, especially for people who want to understand themselves better or who want to improve their relationships with other people. Kierkegaard wrote a lot about love, but I am focusing on this book called Either or because it has two parts that offer two different views on love. The first part is by a character named, and the second part is by a character named B. Let's take a quick look at them. A seems to have it all. He's rich, handsome, successful, charming. Everyone likes him, and yet he's deeply unhappy. He feels empty inside. He lacks passion. He doesn't know what to do with his life. So he throws himself into pleasure, fun, excitement, but none of it makes him happy. He jumps from one thing to the next, never staying still. In short, as an example of someone who runs from love, he avoids commitment. He's afraid of settling down, of being faithful to one person, of building a real relationship. He thinks love is too risky, too complicated, too hard. Instead, he prefers to live a shallow, meaningless life alone rather than risk getting hurt. B, on the other hand, seems to be the opposite of a he's poor, unattractive, boring. Everyone ignores him, and he's okay with that. He doesn't need anyone. He doesn't want anything. He just wants to live a quiet, peaceful life by himself. In short, B doesn't run from love. He doesn't avoid love. He actively seeks it out. He courts women, he flirts with them, he tries to win them over. And he does all this without expecting anything in return. He isn't motivated by desire or lust, but by something deeper, more meaningful, love for the sake of love. Okay, so how should you respond to these two characters? Which one should you identify with? Or maybe you feel like neither of them? That's fine. But here's what I want you to consider. Do you think A's happier than B? Does his life have more meaning than B's? No, A's life is full of emptiness, boredom, despair. B's life may not be easy. It may not always be exciting, but it's full of hope, possibility, connection. You see, even though it might seem more admirable, more impressive, more advanced in a way, he's actually more childish than B. Why? Because he focuses on himself and his own desires. He doesn't think about anyone else. He doesn't care about anyone else. He lives in his own little world. In short, as an example of what Kierkegaard calls the aesthetic stage. This is the stage where people focus on themselves and their own pleasure. They don't want to be bothered by anything else. They want to enjoy life in the moment without any responsibility or commitment. B, on the other hand, is an example of what Kierkegaard calls the ethical stage. This is the stage where people care about others and their relationships. They want to make a difference in the world. They want to leave something behind. They want to create something meaningful. In short, B lives by principles and values. He has a sense of duty and honor. He respects himself and others. He's not afraid of getting hurt. He's willing to suffer for a cause. Now you might be thinking, well, what about me? Where am I in this story? Well, I want you to ask yourself this question. Which stage do you feel closer to? The aesthetic stage or the ethical stage? If you're honest with yourself, you'll probably say you're a mix of both. You have some qualities of A and some qualities of B, but which one dominates your personality? Which one makes you feel more fulfilled? If you said neither, then I want you to ask yourself why. What's stopping you from being like B? What's stopping you from seeking out love and meaning? Or what's stopping you from being like A? What's making you run from love and responsibility? As you reflect on your journey, let's talk about the idea of running from love. Running from love is a common theme in literature, movies, and TV shows. We often see characters who avoid love because they're afraid of getting hurt, of committing to one person, of facing their feelings. Why do you think this happens? Well, according to Kierkegaard, it happens because these characters are stuck in the aesthetic stage. They're focused on themselves and their own pleasure. They don't want to be bothered by anything else. They want to enjoy life in the moment without any responsibility or commitment. This is why we often see characters who are unfaithful, who cheat on their partners, who break up with people without any real reason. They're only thinking about themselves and what they want. They don't care about the pain they cause to others. But why should you care about this? Why should you care about these characters or about people who run from love? Well, because you're one of these people sometimes. You might not realize it, but you might be running from love too. You might be avoiding commitment, responsibility, honesty, depth. You might be seeking pleasure, distraction, comfort, ease. You might think that you're free from all this stuff, that you're not like those characters, but trust me, you are. You are like those characters in many ways. You have the same fears, the same temptations, the same weaknesses. You are not an exception. You are not above all this. You are human. So how do you deal with this? How do you overcome this tendency to run from love? Well, first you have to recognize it. You have to admit that you are one of those people. You have to face your fears and your weaknesses. You have to stop running and start facing your feelings. You have to stop distracting yourself and start engaging with others. You have to stop seeking pleasure and start seeking meaning. I've talked about this in my videos on dating, relationships, communication, etc. But let me summarize it here for you. You have to move from the aesthetic stage to the ethical stage. You have to go from taking everything personally to taking nothing personally. You have to go from making everything about you to making everything about them. You have to go from wanting them to have you to wanting to have them. You have to go from seeking superficial connections to seeking deep connections. You have to go from wanting to be right to wanting to be loving. You have to go from wanting to be understood to wanting to understand. And I know this might sound difficult, maybe even impossible, but trust me, it's not. It's actually very simple. All you need is courage, honesty, humility, faith. These are the virtues that will guide you and protect you on your journey. These are the virtues that will help you become who you're meant to be. Don't waste your life running from love. Embrace it. Seek it out. Live for it. Love for the sake of loving. That's what makes life worth living. That's what makes you worth living for. Thank you for watching. Until next time.